Imagine for a second that you are standing in a convenience store parking lot and you're just holding a little piece of paper.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right. It's a lottery ticket. And you're looking at it and you just realize that every single symbol matches perfectly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, you have just won this unimaginable, completely life-altering fortune, just an overwhelming magnitude of wealth.
Which is, a pretty wild scenario to try and visualize.
It really is. But I want you to think about what is actually happening inside your physical body in that exact precise fraction of a second.
It's chaos, biologically speaking.
Absolute chaos. I mean, your heart is hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird. Your pupils are completely dilated.
Right, your breath probably gets super shallow, almost non-existent.
Exactly. And a massive flood of adrenaline and cortisol is just, surging through your bloodstream. You are sweating. Your muscles are coiled tighter than a steel spring.
It is a profound, violent biological activation. Just complete systemic chaos, like you said.
Right. But here's the terrifying paradox that we are really going to unpack today. Because, biologically speaking, chemically speaking, your ancient nervous system does not look at that reaction and think, oh, wonderful, we are wealthy now, let's celebrate.
No, not at all. It doesn't have the capacity for that kind of abstract logic.
Exactly. Your nervous system speaks a very primitive language. And in that specific language, a hammering heart, shallow breath, and an adrenaline flood mean only one thing.
It means a predator.
Yes. It means you are being actively hunted by a lethal predator in the wilderness. It basically tells your body that you are in the absolute greatest physical danger of your life.
Because the physical body, it really doesn't inherently know the difference between the absolute thrill of a monumental achievement and the blinding terror of a physical threat.
Which is just so entirely backward to how we think we operate.
It is, yeah. To the nervous system, massive sudden change is simply a massive sudden threat. The chemicals are identical.
That concept just, it completely shattered my understanding of why I sabotage myself. Because we usually look at building a life, right?
Right.
Whether that is launching a massive new enterprise or trying to completely overhaul our health or stepping into a totally new identity. And we expect a very comforting linear equation.
We want effort to equal outcome.
Exactly. Cause and effect.
Yeah.
We think, I want this thing, I am putting in an endless tide of effort, so therefore the structure should rise.
Which is, unfortunately, the fundamental illusion that we all basically operate under.
Yeah.
We assume that just because our conscious, waking mind desires a specific outcome, every other mechanism within us must be cheering us on.
Like they're all on the same team.
Right. We think the entire system is perfectly aligned with that conscious declaration.
But then, you step into the actual messy reality of human consciousness, and that simple equation just totally disintegrates.
It really does.
You find yourself pouring an overwhelming magnitude of energy into a grand vision. You are doing the grueling work.
You're focused.
You are maintaining absolute focus. But despite this monumental effort, you just keep slamming face first into an invisible wall. You experience this relentless, agonizing stagnation.
Or, and I think this is even more bewildering for people, you actually achieve a breakthrough.
Oh, the breakthrough collapse.
Yeah, you pierce through the veil, you get a brief, tantalizing taste of the reality you have been bleeding for, and then a sudden catastrophic upheaval.
The foundation just simply crumbles beneath your feet.
Entirely.
Yes, like the relationship blows up over absolutely nothing.
Or the business deal falls apart at the final signature.
Right. Or you get horribly injured right before the marathon you've trained for. You subconsciously torch the victory and find yourself right back in your original state.
Standing in a pile of rubble.
Just standing in the rubble, feeling incredibly foolish. And you are left agonizing over this brutal question. Like, why does pushing harder, desiring more, often lead to dramatically more intense friction?
Why does ambition trigger our own undoing?
Exactly. Why is it that our grandest ambitions seem to pull the trigger on our own failure?
Well, we culturally frame those periods of intense stagnation or sudden collapse as profound personal failures.
We really do.
We look at the rubble and tell ourselves it is a punishment. We view it as this glaring signal from the universe that we are inherently unworthy of the vision, or, that we simply lack the necessary grit.
Which is just such a devastating, paralyzing place to be. It makes you want to crawl into a cave and just abandon the concept of ambition entirely.
Because if trying to grow only results in getting slapped down, why even try?
Exactly. So, our mission for today, the goal of this conversation, is to really decode the unseen architecture of human reality. We are going to map the hidden internal mechanisms of our consciousness.
We need to understand exactly why that invisible wall exists.
Yes, how it is built, and more importantly, how we can practically transcend these self-imposed limitations.
Because the ultimate realization here, and this is what we are going to explore today, is that we are not broken machinery.
Not at all.
We are so far from broken. The periods of profound stagnation, the eras where everything you build seems to spontaneously combust, these are not punishments.
They aren't glitches either.
Right. They are not glitches in your system. They are the flawless functioning of a perfect, albeit completely misunderstood, internal biological and energetic mechanism.
So it's working exactly as intended.
With brutal efficiency, yes. Your system is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
Okay, well, we need to bridge this gap immediately. Because if hitting an invisible wall and watching my life's work evaporate is a perfectly functioning mechanism, I need to know what is actually pulling the levers in the background.
Of course.
If my body is physically locking me out of my goals, there has to be some kind of higher management system overriding my conscious desires.
There is. But to understand the stagnation, we really have to start by looking closely at the physical body.
The physical vessel.
Yes, the vessel. We have to look at the absolute collision between our lofty modern ambitions and our ancient evolutionary biology.
Okay, walk me through that collision.
Well, you might sit in your comfortable living room and consciously declare that you desire a boundless fortune, right? Or immense public recognition, or just a completely revolutionized way of living.
You write it there in your journal, you do the vision board.
Exactly. You believe with every fiber of your conscious mind that you want these things.
I am practically vibrating with how much I want it.
But when you vividly imagine attaining that massive goal, or, when you actually start getting close to the precipice of holding it, your physical body initiates a completely autonomous reaction.
Without you even telling it to.
Totally automatic. Your nervous system is, at its foundational core, an ancient, highly evolved alarm system.
Right?
It was forged over the passage of eras to do one single thing, and that is to keep you alive until tomorrow.
And an ancient alarm system does not care about my 5-year business plan.
It could not care less about your business plan or your goals. Let's return to the biology of your lottery winner. If we monitor the biological response to extreme, life-altering excitement, the kind of excitement that accompanies massive success, and compare it side by side with the biological response to severe life-threatening anxiety, they are chemically and physically identical.
They are exactly the same.
Yes. The acceleration of the heart rate, the shallowing of the breath, the muscular contraction preparing for fight or flight, the rapid flooding of systemic chemicals.
I just cannot get over this. The physical language of winning and the physical language of dying are the exact same dialect.
The exact same dialect. The physical vessel just does not possess the inherent cognitive ability to differentiate between the thrill of a monumental achievement and the absolute terror of being chased.
It just feels the intensity.
Right. All it registers is a massive spike in physiological arousal. It registers a profound departure from baseline homeostasis.
So when I hold a desire that is so massive, it threatens to overwhelm my current reality. My nervous system experiences a profound activation.
It contracts.
It tightens.
Right. And when that ancient nervous system contracts, it is sending a blaring siren to your brain, signaling that a deeply held internal narrative of safety has just been violently breached.
It's saying danger, danger.
The body says this level of energy is unknown, and the unknown is, by default, a wilderness full of predators. The unknown is fundamentally unsafe.
So it decides we must shut this operation down immediately.
Exactly.
Wait, let me make sure I'm fully grasping the magnitude of this.
Go ahead.
If I am intensely, passionately fired up about a massive goal, like if I am waking up every morning practically buzzing with the ambition to change my life, my physical body might actually be interpreting that very ambition as a lethal impending threat.
Not just might be. The overwhelming majority of the time, it absolutely is interpreting it as a threat.
Wow, it feels like I am sitting in the driver's seat of a high-performance sports car.
I like this analogy.
Yeah, and I am slamming my foot down on the accelerator with all my conscious desires. I have the engine roaring. I am burning an overwhelming magnitude of fuel, but the vehicle is just shaking violently and the tires are smoking.
Why are they smoking?
Because the emergency brake is completely, fiercely engaged.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the internal friction. You are demanding forward momentum with your conscious mind, but your ancient biological alarm system has silently pulled the emergency brake to save your life.
It's trying to help me.
It is. But what happens when you operate any complex vehicle that way for an extended period?
It breaks down.
It breaks down. It overheats. It stagnates. This agonizing stagnation, you experience the creative project that will not launch, the relationship that constantly devolves into conflict, the financial ceiling you keep hitting, is actually this protective mechanism working with flawless perfection.
It is actively shutting down opportunities to keep me trapped in a familiar zone.
Yes.
Because to the primitive nervous system, familiar equals surviving, even if the familiar zone is absolutely miserable.
That's the kicker.
Right. Even if the familiar zone is poverty or loneliness or just chronic, terrible stress.
The nervous system does not judge the quality of the familiar zone. It only cares that you survived it yesterday. Therefore, it is deemed safe.
It just wants a baseline.
Exactly. It views the glorious unknown landscape of your success as a dangerous, uncharted wilderness.
It is literally keeping me safe from my own success.
That's exactly what it's doing.
Okay, but this raises a massive question. If the body is pulling the emergency brake, who or what is actually sitting in the command center programming that brake?
Now we're getting into the architecture.
Right, because if we want to release it, we cannot just yell at the brake pedal. We have to understand the underlying architecture of creation. Where is the actual command center?
Well, to find the command center, we have to look beyond the gray matter of the physical brain.
Okay.
We must understand human consciousness not as a static object, but as a dynamic flow of energy operating through three entirely distinct forces, or tiers.
3 tiers.
Yes. You have the localized self-conscious will, you have the subconscious filter, and you have the superconscious field.
Let us break these down because this is the invisible architecture we're always bumping into. We will start with the localized self-conscious will. I assume this is the director.
Precisely. It is your waking awareness. It holds the spark of localized willpower.
So it's the part of me having this conversation right now. The part that decides to wear a blue shirt instead of a red one. The part that sets the ambitious goal.
Right. Think of it as the captain standing at the helm of a massive ship, holding the directional compass, declaring, "We are going to sail toward that distant horizon."
Okay, I like the captain.
It is brilliant at focusing, but it actually possesses a surprisingly limited fragment of your overall energetic processing power.
Just a tiny fragment. And then on the entirely opposite end of the spectrum, we have the superconscious.
The superconscious is the boundless plane of all possibilities. Imagine a vast, infinite ocean where every potential reality, every conceivable version of your life exists simultaneously in a state of suspended potential.
An infinite ocean of potential.
Exactly. It holds an overwhelming magnitude of raw power. It is the universal force, the endless tide, the source energy, however you choose to conceptualize the infinite fabric of reality.
So my self-conscious mind is the captain saying, I want to sail to this specific beautiful island. And the superconscious is the infinite magical ocean that is entirely capable of carrying my ship to any island in existence.
That's the dynamic.
That sounds like an incredibly empowering, almost flawless system. I mean, I think the ocean moves, but clearly there is a massive catch. Otherwise, we would all be living on our ideal islands.
The catch is a vital, formidable intermediary.
The middleman.
Yes, because the vast, infinite ocean of the superconscious does not take orders directly from the captain.
Wait, it doesn't?
No, it defers entirely to a very narrow, incredibly specific gatekeeper. And that is the subconscious filter.
The subconscious.
The subconscious is the bridge, the translation layer, between your localized waking will and the infinite field of possibilities.
And this bridge has a toll booth. Or, better yet, it is like a highly overprotective bouncer standing at the door of a super exclusive club.
I like that. An overprotective bouncer is the perfect visualization.
Okay, tell me about the bouncer.
The subconscious filter, this bouncer, has one singular, relentless obsession: your absolute survival and safety.
Survival at all costs.
At all costs. Now, here is the critical vulnerability in our human architecture. This bouncer did not write the rule book on what is safe based on universal objective truth.
Oh, where did it get the rules then?
The subconscious filter learns its definitions of safety purely from the external physical realm.
So it's looking outward.
Yes, it absorbs the early vulnerable experiences of our formative eras. It absorbs the prevailing narratives of the culture we are immersed in.
Like sponges.
Exactly. He
And
takes notes on every time you were embarrassed, every time you saw someone else fail, every inherited fear passed down through generations.
so the bouncer builds his definition of safe out of the messy, often traumatizing raw material of our past experiences. And whatever the chaotic external world has shouted at us since we were literally infants.
Yes. In the distant past of your childhood, you were told what people like you were expected to have. You observed the friction that happens when people take bold risks.
We see someone try something big and fail, and the bouncer takes a note.
Exactly. You absorbed a vast constellation of deeply limiting beliefs before your conscious mind even developed the cognitive ability to reject them as false.
Before I even knew I was learning them.
Right. And the subconscious bouncer takes all these limiting stories, writes them on a clipboard, and attaches them to every single experience you ever attempt.
It effectively dictates what you are allowed to have without triggering the biological alarm system.
That is exactly its function.
This sounds like a terrifying trap. I mean, if my self-conscious mind, the captain, does not use its localized willpower to actively, deliberately program this bouncer, the subconscious just passively absorbs whatever chaotic garbage the external world feeds it.
That is the ultimate trap of the unconscious will. The subconscious is a relentless recording device. It never ever sleeps.
It's always listening.
Always. And if you are not consciously, ruthlessly selecting the beliefs that serve your grandest vision, your subconscious bouncer is passively soaking up the fears, the limitations, and the polarized propaganda of the world around you.
We are essentially letting background noise program the most powerful manifestation filter in the universe.
It is a profound relinquishing of our power.
We are letting inherited fears dictate what the infinite ocean is allowed to deliver to our doorstep.
Yes, because here is the mechanical truth. The superconscious, that infinite power, actually listens entirely to your subconscious bouncer, not to your conscious desires.
Wait, the ocean listens to the bouncer, not the captain.
Yes, the captain can stand at the helm and consciously declare, I desire an endless tide of abundance and a revolutionary career. But if your subconscious bouncer checks the clipboard and sees a deeply ingrained childhood story that wealth makes you a target, or that standing out leads to rejection, the bouncer immediately classifies your grand desire as a lethal threat.
And it pulls the emergency brake.
It slams the heavy steel door shut. It signals the nervous system to flood you with anxiety, so you'll stop pursuing it.
And the ocean?
The infinite ocean of the superconscious simply responds to the bouncer saying, access denied, maintaining current coordinates for safety, abundance canceled.
Wow. So what does this actually mean for us on a random Tuesday morning when we are trying to build our lives?
It means we have work to do.
It means we have to actively take the wheel, we have to consciously direct our desires and rewrite the bouncer's clipboard.
Precisely.
But before we even attempt to hack the mechanism and reprogram the filter, we have to examine the true fuel behind those desires.
Yes, the fuel is everything.
We have to pause and ask a deeply uncomfortable question, like, why do we actually want what we want?
This is a crucial, unavoidable pivot in the journey. If we are going to consciously direct the infinite forces of reality, we must fiercely investigate the purity of our fuel source.
Because the fuel might be contaminated.
Highly contaminated. Many of the ambitions that burn the brightest within us, the goals that keep us up at night, are actually fueled by deeply misaligned toxic energies.
What kind of energies?
Well, they are often driven by a burning desire for revenge, a frantic need to validate one's existence, or a desperate, exhausting urge to prove our worthiness to a society that casually told us we were not enough.
Oh, man. It is the classic, I will show them energy.
Exactly.
I know this energy so intimately. Let me share a slightly embarrassing reality from my own life.
Please do.
Years ago, I went through a terribly messy breakup. I felt completely inadequate, just entirely rejected, and my immediate response was to sign up for a grueling marathon.
Which is a huge physical undertaking.
Massive. And I had never run long distances in my life, but I spent months enduring agonizing training sessions. And the entire time I was running, I wasn't thinking about the beauty of the sport or pushing my physical limits for joy.
What were you thinking about?
I was visualizing my ex, seeing a photo of me crossing the finish line looking incredibly fit and successful. I was running purely on the fumes of spite.
And that is a perfect illustration of the trap.
It really was a trap.
To understand why that specific energy of spite or proving is an architectural trap, we have to look at the three planes of existence across which reality operates.
Okay, the three planes.
Yes,
Yeah.
the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Now, the physical and mental realms, the realms of bodies, thoughts, and societal structures, are entirely governed by the law of polarity.
Polarity, meaning opposites, right? Up and down, hot and cold, light and dark.
Exactly. Success versus failure, fear versus safety, lack versus abundance. So whenever your desires are rooted in proving something to someone else or proving your fundamental worth to yourself, those desires are permanently, heavily anchored in the crushing polarity of the mental and physical planes.
Because I'm trying to move from failure to success to prove I'm not a failure.
Yes, by trying to prove you are enough, you are operating from a fundamental, foundational assumption of lack. You are subconsciously declaring to the universe, I am currently inadequate, I am currently empty, and achieving this goal is the only thing that will finally make me whole.
Going back to my marathon, it felt like I was climbing a treacherous, freezing mountain face just so I could yell down at the people who doubted me at the bottom.
Right.
I wasn't climbing because I wanted to experience the profound majesty of the summit or the crisp air. I spent a monumental amount of energy dragging myself up the cliff, fueled entirely by the desire to scream, "Look at me now."
And what happened when you got to the top?
Well, that's the thing. I crossed the finish line, I got the medal, and within 48 hours, I crashed into a massive depression. I just felt completely empty.
That crash is entirely predictable based on the mechanics we are discussing.
Why is that?
Because once a goal that was achieved out of spite or a desperate need for external validation is actually reached, the foundational energy evaporates instantly.
It just disappears.
The entire reason for the achievement, the need to prove the point, vanishes the very moment the point is proven,
The fuel line is cut.
completely severed. This inevitably leads to a sudden structural collapse in your life or a profound echoing emptiness in your chest.
Because the vehicle has nothing left to burn.
The vehicle runs completely out of fuel because the fuel itself was an illusion born of lack. If you build a massive structure on a foundation of I am not enough, the moment you achieve the goal, the foundation disappears.
You proved your point, you yelled at the people in the valley, but you didn't actually build a life you want to inhabit.
Exactly.
You built a monument to your past wounds, not a sustainable vessel for your future joy. You are just standing alone on a cold rock with a metal you don't actually care about.
Which means we need a massive foundational paradigm shift in how we approach creation.
We really do.
If we cannot use the highly combustible toxic fuel of proving ourselves, if that fuel ultimately destroys the engine, what is the alternative?
Yes, what is the clean energy alternative? How do we fuel the engine without blowing it up?
The alternative is fiercely embracing the universal principle of inherent worth.
Inherent worth.
Yes, this requires a fundamental, often painful rewiring of your entire self-concept. You must accept, at a cellular level, that you are profoundly and inherently worthy simply because you exist.
Just for being here.
Yes, you are a localized, deliberate spark of the infinite universe. Your value is not a variable equation.
It's not something I earn today and lose tomorrow.
Exactly. It does not fluctuate based on your economic output, your daily achievements, or the fickle opinions of the external world.
That is an incredibly tough pill to swallow for anyone raised in our hyper-competitive modern environment.
Oh, absolutely.
We are conditioned from early childhood to believe that worth is a currency you have to aggressively earn every single day. We think if we aren't producing, we are worthless.
It requires a profound, deliberate unlearning. But I want you to consider the architectural shift that happens when you finally internalize that inherent worth.
Okay, what changes?
The very nature of your desires transforms entirely. True sustainable expansion, the kind that does not trigger the subconscious bouncer or collapse under its own weight, comes from a desire for joy, for boundless exploration, and for limitless play.
Creating from play instead of panic.
Yes, you create not because you're an empty vessel desperate to be filled by external applause, but because you are already overflowing with inherent wholeness, and you simply wish to express that fullness into the physical realm.
So you desire the summit purely for the magnificent joy of the climb and the breathtaking beauty of the view.
Precisely. You climb because you want to, not because you have to prove you can.
I can literally feel the difference in my body as you describe those two states.
The physical reaction is immediate, isn't it?
It really is. The energy of proving feels incredibly tight, contracted like a clenched fist in the gut. The energy of joyful exploration feels open, expansive, and incredibly calm.
That's the nervous system responding to safety versus threat.
But I am struggling with the practical bridge here.
Okay, where's the disconnect?
If my subconscious bouncer is deeply wired for survival, and my physical body is practically addicted to the stress chemicals of proving myself and fighting for my worth, how do we actually escape the trap of polarity?
That's the real challenge.
Yeah, how do I convince a nervous system that has spent decades in fight or flight that we are just gonna play now?
This is where we transition from understanding the philosophical architecture
Huh.
to actively mechanically navigating it.
The mechanics of it.
Yes. To bypass that restrictive subconscious filter, to slip past the overprotective bouncer without triggering the alarms, we must transition our waking awareness entirely out of the physical and mental plane.
We have to leave those planes entirely.
Momentarily, yes, we must elevate our consciousness into the spiritual plane, entering a state of pure, unadulterated I am awareness.
I am consciousness. I mean, it sounds highly mystical, almost like something you'd only achieve after a decade in a monastery.
It sounds that way, but it isn't.
But we are talking about a very specific mechanical shift in how we direct our internal focus, correct?
It is entirely mechanical, and it is accessible to anyone, anywhere.
Okay.
It is fundamentally about neutralizing the physical form so that the ancient biological alarm system goes completely dormant. Remember, the nervous system is constantly scanning and reacting to the physical environment and physical sensations.
It's always looking for danger in the physical world.
Right, so to bypass it, we must deliberately, momentarily detach our awareness from our physical boundaries.
Okay, let us break down exactly how this is achieved. Because for listeners sitting in their office chair right now or driving their car, how does one initiate this neutralization?
It's simpler than you think.
I imagine it begins with the autonomic rhythms of the body, the machinery that operates without our conscious effort.
It begins with quiet, detached observation. You find a moment of stillness, and you simply bring your conscious attention to the beating of your heart.
Just observing.
Just observing. You observe the gentle rise and fall of your breath. These are the profound, silent mechanisms that sustain your physical vessel constantly without you ever having to direct them.
They are just always running in the background.
Yes. By bringing your conscious awareness to these autonomic rhythms, you begin to build a bridge between the conscious mind and the unconscious biological machinery.
It is like finally stepping down into the roaring engine room of the massive ship you've been steering and just watching the enormous pistons fire, realizing they have been keeping you moving this entire time while you were busy looking at the horizon.
That is a beautiful visualization.
Yes.
And from simple observation, we move to deliberate harmony.
Deliberate harmony.
The practice involves establishing a rhythmic, intentional equilibrium of the breath. You are no longer just watching it, you are guiding it into a state of perfect balance.
Can you explain the specific mechanics of that? Like, why does changing the breath matter so much to the bouncer?
The mechanics are deeply rooted in biology. When you engage in rhythmic breathing, for example, drawing in the life force smoothly for a sustained count, holding it in perfect still suspension, and releasing it in a harmonious extended proportion, you are directly manipulating the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve.
Yes, the vagus nerve is the superhighway of your parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest system, right. The exact opposite of fight or flight.
Exactly. When you forcibly slow and balance the breath, you are sending a cascading, undeniable chemical signal to the deepest parts of your brain that the environment is entirely, absolutely safe.
Because if I was in danger, I wouldn't be breathing like this.
A person fleeing a predator cannot breathe in slow, rhythmic, balanced ratios. Therefore, by breathing this way, you're using your conscious will to manually override the amygdala.
You are hatching the system.
The alarm bells are silenced. The flood of cortisol stops.
The overprotective bouncer is basically lulled into a deep sleep.
Exactly.
The emergency brake is slowly, deliberately released.
Yes. And once the physical vessel is pacified and feels completely safe, the true expansion begins.
Okay, what happens next?
You move your awareness systematically through the body. But you are not just feeling the dense physical structures.
Yeah.
You aren't just focusing on the density of the skull or the heavy weight of the limbs.
So what are you focusing on?
You are asked to feel the subtle energetic space immediately surrounding those structures.
This is a crucial pivot in the practice. We are moving our attention from the solid meat and bone to the subtle energy.
We are deliberately dissolving the perceived perimeter of the self. You begin to expand that energetic boundary outward.
Like pushing your awareness past your skin.
Yes. You imagine your personal energetic signature, the hum of your aliveness, expanding beyond the surface of your skin. It expands beyond the confines of the room you are sitting in.
Just continuously expanding.
It radiates outward like an endless tide,
Right.
washing over the city, the continent. You continue pushing this awareness outward until the hard demarcation between your physical form and the infinite void of the universe dissolves entirely.
So you are pushing your awareness so vastly outward that you actually lose the physical sensation of edges.
Yes.
You can no longer locate where you end and the rest of the room begins.
Precisely. In this vastly expanded state, you have successfully stepped out of the heavy gravity of polarity.
You're no longer in that mental or physical trap.
Right. You are no longer a vulnerable physical body fighting for survival in a dangerous competitive world. You've become pure, formless consciousness.
Formless consciousness.
Thoughts may drift through this vast internal space like solitary clouds drifting across an endless sky, but you remain entirely unattached to them. You do not label a thought as good or bad.
You aren't judging them at all.
You do not judge them. There is a profound, shattering realization that you are simultaneously everything and nothing at all. You are pure I am.
Okay, I have to push back here. Because I really struggle with this concept. I mean, I understand the biological pacification. It sounds like an incredibly peaceful state, a state of absolute, unshakable bliss.
It is.
But if I reach a state of total wholeness, a state where I truly feel I am everything and nothing, and I need absolutely nothing, doesn't that completely assassinate the drive to create?
I see what you mean.
Right. If I meditate myself into a state where I am perfectly complete floating in the void, why do anything at all in the physical world?
Why bother?
Exactly. Why wake up at dawn to build the business? Why endure the vulnerability of seeking a deep romantic relationship? Why write the book? Isn't this just a sophisticated spiritual excuse to stop trying?
That is the ultimate mind-bending paradox of creation, and understanding it is the key to unlocking the entire mechanism we have been discussing today.
Okay, unbend my mind then.
It is not an excuse to stop trying. It is the secret to trying without friction.
Trying without friction.
Think back to the bouncer. When you attempt to create from a state of lacking, when you say, I am empty, and I desperately need this massive achievement to be whole and worthy, you instantly trigger this subconscious fear filter.
Because I'm saying I'm not whole right now.
By declaring you need it, you are validating the reality of lack, which immediately triggers the survival alarm.
Because if I truly need it, my very survival is threatened if I don't get it. I am telling my nervous system my life is literally on the line.
Exactly. You are creating an existential threat out of a goal.
Oh, wow.
But when you create from a state of total, formless wholeness, when you anchor yourself in the I am state, and you know in the marrow of your bones that you are perfectly fine, completely whole, and inherently worthy with or without the manifestation of this specific desire, the subconscious filter opens completely.
It just opens up.
It drops all resistance. The bouncer steps aside and opens the velvet rope.
Why does it do that?
Because if you are already whole, if you are the infinite source of all things, nothing can possibly be a threat to you.
Oh, wow. That just totally clicked for me.
Did it?
Yes. So by genuinely, deeply not needing the outcome to survive emotionally, you make the pursuit of the outcome entirely safe for your nervous system to process.
Yes. In that expanded state, you observe the grand desire in your mind's eye. You sense the reality of it, you feel the texture of it, and then you simply release it into the infinite ocean,
You let it go.
knowing it is already mathematically complete in the quantum field. You can happily exist with it or happily exist without it.
Because you are fine either way.
In this state of pure I am, the subconscious toll booth recognizes that you are the sovereign architect of your reality, not a desperate victim of circumstance fighting for scraps.
It recognizes safety.
It recognizes a state of absolute, unshakable safety. And therefore, without any alarms ringing, it allows the superconscious ocean to flood your physical reality with the precise resources, synchronicities, and energy necessary to materialize the vision.
This changes the entire paradigm of ambition.
It truly does.
It is not about aggressively forcing the physical world to bend to your will and give you what you want. It is about achieving a state of internal completeness so profound, so unshakable, that the physical world simply reflects that wholeness back to you without any of the violent friction.
You become a mirror for the infinite.
But here is the immense practical challenge. We cannot stay floating in the formless, blissful void forever.
No, we cannot.
We don't live in a monastery. We live in the messy, loud physical realm. We have to come back down to earth eventually.
Yes, the physical vessel still exists.
We have to answer stressful emails, navigate complex social dynamics, pay taxes, and have difficult conversations. Once we understand how to access this limitless state of pure awareness, how on earth do we integrate it back into our chaotic daily navigation of the physical world?
This integration is the true test. This is the journey of becoming the trailblazer of your own reality.
Becoming the trailblazer.
When you step back into the dense physical form from that elevated infinite consciousness, you are fundamentally changed. You are carrying a different frequency.
You feel different.
You are now asked to deliberately drop the inherited stories of limitation you used to carry. You are asked to walk through the mundane physical world, holding the quiet, undeniable frequency of the infinite.
And what makes that so difficult?
Often, the most challenging part is that this means stepping into spaces, making decisions, and forging paths where there is absolutely no external reference point for the reality you are trying to create.
Because if you are truly creating from your unique, localized spark, if you are building a life from joy and wholeness rather than societal expectation, you cannot just copy someone else's blueprint.
Yeah.
The blueprint hasn't been drawn yet.
Precisely. You cannot constantly look to the external world for validation that your path is correct, because your specific path has never existed in the history of the universe.
You are the first one walking it.
You must become the trailblazer. You must be the original courageous Stark that others will eventually look back to as proof that such a life can be lived.
But stepping into the absolute unknown like that, I mean, it takes a staggering, almost terrifying amount of trust.
It requires immense trust.
If I am being honest, it can feel bordering on arrogant to stand up and say, I am going to completely ignore the statistics, ignore the traditional advice, and forge a reality that has never existed for me or anyone in my lineage.
The ego fears it as arrogance. It desperately wants to fit in to survive.
Right.
But from the perspective of the architecture we are exploring, it is not an act of arrogance at all. It is simply answering a universal calling.
It's just doing what we're meant to do.
It is functioning as designed. When you step boldly into the unknown as the original spark, acting purely from a place of joy, wholeness, and exploration, rather than proving and lack, the universal force, the endless tide, rises to meet you at the exact crest of your expansion.
It supports the movement.
It rushes in to pour mortar into the new structure you are building. It supports the trailblazer.
So let's look at the practical moment-to-moment application of this.
Okay, let's bring it down to earth.
Say I am navigating my Tuesday afternoon. I am making decisions. Maybe I am about to draft a massive, risky proposal to a potential investor, and I am trying to hold this trailblazer energy.
Okay.
How do I actually know I am aligned with the infinite? How do I know I am acting from a state of wholeness and not just triggering my old survival filters in a clever disguise?
You look for the physical confirmation inside your own vessel. You become a student of your bodily sensations.
So the body tells you.
Always. When you are contemplating this massive, risky proposal, you do not look for frantic, chest-tightening, breathless excitement.
Wait, I don't want excitement.
As we discussed at the very beginning, that intense, chaotic excitement shares the exact same biological signature as lethal anxiety.
Oh, right. The kind of excitement where you think, I cannot believe this is actually happening. I am an imposter. I hope I don't completely ruin this.
Exactly. That frantic energy often masks a deep, terrifying underlying fear of loss. It is the energy of polarity.
So what should I be looking for instead?
Instead, the ultimate physical confirmation of alignment is the uncontrollable smile.
The uncontrollable smile.
You look for a profound, quiet calmness descending through your entire body, a sensation of absolute, undeniable naturalness.
What does that naturalness feel like?
When you imagine your grandest vision, when you hover your finger over the send button on that massive proposal, and your body responds not with tension or sweaty palms, but with a deep, relaxed sigh.
Just an exhale.
A physiological response of course this is happening. This is entirely safe. This is exactly who I am.
That sounds amazing.
That is your physical confirmation. That quiet, unshakable calm is the biological signal that the subconscious bouncer has checked the clipboard, seen the new programming, and accepted your massive desire as entirely safe and completely natural.
It is the feeling of walking into your own home and taking off your coat, rather than the feeling of storming a castle and winning a desperate, bloody battle.
A profoundly beautiful distinction. You are not conquering reality, you are simply inhabiting it.
You're just living in it.
And to maintain this alignment day after day, you must rely on a very different navigational tool than pure logic. You must fiercely cultivate a relationship with your intuition.
Let us talk about intuition, because I think it often gets a bad reputation in our culture.
It really does.
It gets framed as something magical, esoteric, or inherently illogical, which makes analytical people immediately dismiss it.
It is a massive disservice to frame it as magic. Intuition is a highly advanced mechanical data processing system.
A data processing system.
It is simply the quiet whisper of the universal, all-knowing, superconscious field flowing directly through the localized physical vessel.
Right, the architecture we talked about.
Exactly. Remember the architecture. When you are connected to the I am state through stillness and breath, you have opened the bridge to the vast ocean of the superconscious.
So intuition is just data coming across that bridge.
Intuition is simply how that infinite ocean communicates its vast data set to the localized captain.
So it is a direct, high-speed feed of information from the plane of all possibilities, completely bypassing the fear-based logic of the bouncer.
Yes, and because it bypasses the bouncer, it rarely communicates in loud, forceful, highly analytical arguments.
How does it communicate?
It speaks in gentle, nonlinear nudges. It is the sudden, inexplicable urge to take a different route home from work. It is the sudden impulse to reach out to a specific person you haven't spoken to in years.
Just a quiet nudge.
It is the quiet, sinking, knowing in your gut that a seemingly perfect business opportunity on paper is actually a profound misalignment for your energy.
Which is completely terrifying for the logical mind. I mean, the logical mind wants a spreadsheet proving exactly why we should take the different route home.
The logical mind is bound by the past. It only knows what has already happened. The intuition is connected to the infinite.
It knows what is possible.
Following these gentle nudges, especially when they make absolutely no logical sense to the survival-obsessed subconscious, guarantees that you are continually safely guided toward your highest expression.
Because the infinite ocean has a satellite view of the entire universal map, while our localized logical will can only see a few feet ahead through the fog.
Precisely. If you cultivate the courage to trust those quiet nudges, the path will begin to unfold with a synchronic elegance and a lack of friction that the logical, forceful mind could never have orchestrated.
The invisible walls just disappear.
Because you aren't building them anymore.
If we connect all of these massive concepts to the bigger picture, to sort of synthesize this entire immersive journey we have been on today,
Let's do that.
it completely radically reframes the overarching narrative of human potential. I mean, we are not fragile, fundamentally flawed creatures constantly failing to build a simple wall.
No. That is the illusion of polarity. We are infinite, boundless potential that has deliberately, momentarily chosen to experience the profound, rich friction of physical limitation.
We chose the friction.
We are master architects currently learning how to operate the most complex, staggering machinery in existence, the human nervous system paired with localized consciousness.
And when we look back at our lives through this new lens, those terrifying fires we survived, the lost foundations, the immense crushing struggles.
Yes, the collapses.
The periods of agonizing, seemingly endless stagnation where everything we tried to build inexplicably collapsed into rubble, they were never signs of our fundamental unworthiness.
Never.
They were never punishments handed down from a cruel, judgmental universe.
They were the universe's fierce, most profoundly loving mechanism to snap us out of a deeply misaligned narrative.
The course correction.
When the reality you are desperately trying to build is fueled by the toxic energy of spite, anchored in the heavy gravity of lack, and restricted by a fearful, traumatized subconscious bouncer, the most loving, merciful thing the universal force can do is let it collapse.
Let it all fall down.
The collapse is a necessary recalibration. It aggressively clears the rubble of your false desires so you can finally remember your true, infinite magnitude and begin to rebuild from a state of inherent wholeness.
Let us circle all the way back to the very beginning of our conversation. We talked about that deep-seated expectation of linear mechanics, the idea that you just lay the bricks, pour the mortar, and expect the wall to go up seamlessly. And we talked about the agonizing frustration of hitting that invisible, unseen barrier instead.
The emergency brake.
Exactly. If we truly understand the unseen architecture of creation we've mapped out today, if we understand the ancient survival-obsessed alarm systems of the physical body and the protective gates of the subconscious mind, we realize a profound truth.
And what is that?
The invisible wall was never there to stop us from achieving our ultimate joy. It was there to show us that we were building with the wrong combustible materials, using a deeply flawed blueprint handed down to us by a fearful world.
The wall was demanding that we stop copying the past. It was demanding that we become the trailblazer, rather than blindly repeating the inherited echoes and anxieties of previous generations.
It is a profound shift from feeling like a victim of the universe to realizing you are the architect.
You are always the architect.
So I want to leave you, the listener, with a final lingering thought to mull over as you step back out into the beautiful chaos of your day.
A final reflection.
Yes, if every breakdown you have ever survived, every seemingly insurmountable wall you've hit, and every collapsed foundation in your past was actually a brilliant, perfectly timed recalibration pointing you toward your truest, most expansive self, what is the greatest, most agonizing challenge you are facing in this exact moment actually preparing you to receive?